به رغم قطعنامه پارلمان اروپا مبنی بر قرار دادن سپاه پاسداران در لیست سازمان‌های تروریستی، بورل روز گذشته گفت این کار بدون حکم دادگاه انجام شدنی نیست. قدم بعدی شما برای دستیابی به این هدف چیست؟ مکانیزم واقعی چه خواهد بود؟
I think it was clear to everyone who has some expertise on sanctions regimes that it cannot just be a decision in the European Parliament and then the Revolutionary Guards would be on the terror list. So indeed, we have to work out legal pathways to get them there. This could either be a court ruling from an EU member state, or it could be a recent court ruling from a country like a third country that then is applicable to EU laws, and it needs some kind of legal scrutiny. So what I think would be key right now is that everyone in our services starts working on finding legal pathways, how we can get the Revolutionary Guards on the terrorist lists, and at the same time, that there is a clear political message, and that is what I have been missing from Mr. Bورل also yesterday, that there is a clear political message that for us, what the Revolutionary Guards do is terror, which is why we already start treating them as terrorists, which means, for example, no meetings on red carpets as long as the brutal crackdown on protests continues.
موضع‌گیری و رفتار مقامات ایرانی نشان دهنده ادامه سرکوب و صدور احکام اعدام هست. اقدام عملی بعدی شما برای جلوگیری از این سرکوب‌ها چه خواهد بود؟
First of all, our message has to be very clear to them. We do not accept this behavior, and as long as you continue this behavior, we don't see you as a trusted negotiation partner for anything. In addition, it is important that we step up measures to support protesters in Iran, and this also finds itself in the resolution of the European Parliament from last week, including visiting courts, supporting them with finding lawyers, supporting them also if they need to urgently leave the country, for example, with the short stay visas. And at the same time, we have to look at the diaspora, so the Iranian people that live inside the European Union, that also come under increasing threat because the regime is not just suppressing political opposition inside Iran, they're also trying to intimidate and suppress political opposition here. So we have to sensitize our security services, our police, our criminal investigation units, and all of that to make sure that they are sensitized to the threat that Iranian diaspora faces and that they better protect them also in executing their freedom of opinion here inside the European Union.
برخی ایرانی‌ها معتقدند که اتحادیه اروپا حقوق بشر رو فدای خواست سیاسی خودش میکنه. نظر شما در این باره چیه؟
Well, I think it's in the foremost political interest of the European Union to have an Iran without a nuclear bomb, to have Iranians being able to decide their own fate and living peacefully in their own country, and to make sure that the Revolutionary Guards stop terrorizing the whole Middle East. So here, I think our political interests actually align very much. Yet we still have to, let's see how we value one against another. I'm happy that the European Parliament was very clear in what it expects the High Representative and member states to do. And now we have to use the political spaces that each and every one has at their disposal, talking to our national governments, putting more pressure on the High Representative, and so on, to make sure that really the whole European Union moves in that direction.
بورل گفت که برجام نمرده. اروپا حاضر چقدر برای احیای برجام پیش بره و چقدر دنبال روی آمریکا خواهد بود؟
If this regime that is terrorizing its own citizens and the whole region has a nuclear bomb, this would make the situation even more difficult. So we should do everything possible to prevent them from getting the nuclear bomb. Yet, reviving the JCPOA, so the nuclear talks at the moment, I think is clearly the wrong signal. The regime has already walked away twice from an almost done deal in last year. And the regime can at the moment not be a trusted negotiation partner while they kill their own opposition in their home country. So we can have nothing, basically nothing to gain at the moment from reviving the JCPOA, whereas the Iranian regime can misuse this negotiation as a sign of legitimacy, of something giving them international reputation, which is why at the moment in time, and that has also been clearly said in our European Parliament resolution, there is no option, and it's absolutely not in our interest to revive the talks. No one has had talks since March or April, frankly said, and I think that's where we should leave it at the moment. Just put it all in the fridge and be very clear, as long as the brutal crackdown against protesters continues, we will not negotiate with the regime. I think we have to discuss either way how security structure, security guarantees, security partners with the Middle East look like. We have to discuss that with the Gulf states. We have to discuss that with Israel, as complicated as this may be at the moment. And we have to discuss it with other neighboring states of Iran. But this is a discussion and a concept that we need to develop anyways, because no one should be certain that even if at one day in the future the JCPOA negotiations continues, they will be successful with the kind of regime that we are talking at now, but also with the clear messages coming from the US, where Biden said, well, JCPOA is dead, but I'm not going to tell it publicly, which means it will be difficult to get them both on the table. So either way, we need to think about an alternative security infrastructure.
فکر می‌کنید که فراخواندن سفرا از ایران میتونه سرکوب رو متوقف کنه یا فقط دست رژیم رو برای ادامه سرکوب وحشیانه بازتر می‌گذاره؟
The work that our embassies in Iran can do at the moment is limited, yet I think it's crucial. Many protesters ask us, for example, to send our ambassadors to observe trials. The ambassadors are also, and the embassies are also our way as members of parliament, but also for the security institutions to get impartial information from Iran to the European Union so that we don't have to rely on the regime propaganda, which I think none of us wants to do. The ambassadors are a good way to exerting pressure to send messages such as the one of the European Parliament resolution to the Iranian regime. So I think, especially at the moment where it is clear that we cannot trust Iranian media, where it is clear that the Iranian regime tries to systematically limit the communication that's going from the opposition to the world, it is crucial that we continue to have our embassies there to provide us with information, to support protesters and opposition as much as they can, and to continue exerting pressure on the regime.
از اونجایی که قطعنامه پارلمان اروپا الزام‌آور نیست، تا چه حد شورای اروپا با پارلمان همسوست؟
Well, the European Parliament resolution indeed is not binding. But in the course of last week, while we had discussed the European Parliament's resolution, the discourse has clearly shifted. We have seen strong signals from the German Minister of Foreign Affairs, Annalena Baerbock, for example, saying that it would be politically important to list them. We have seen the Dutch Parliament issuing a resolution towards the listing. We have seen attempts in the UK now to work on a listing, and most importantly, maybe for the European context, we have seen Ursula von der Leyen in Davos speaking up on behalf and in favor of the listing. So we see once again that though the resolutions of the European Parliament are not binding, they really open up a space for discourse and a policy shift all over the European Union and even beyond. So now we had a discussion in the Foreign Affairs Council, and my understanding of the, let's say, a bit clumsy remarks of Bورel were that he mainly sees legal concerns against the listing and not so much political concerns, which is a big step ahead. And now we need to have full force against sorting out the legal problems. And then I am pretty confident if the regime continues its oppressive policies, that more and more the whole European Union will walk in the direction already set out by the Parliament last week.